name's Christina and you're watching Proud Book Lion, and today I'm doing my wrap-up part 4 out of 2018. So since last time we spoke, I've read 4 new books and 1 reread. So let's get into them. By now I think you know that I'm a part of the Drag Society and I follow Emma's read-along schedule pretty accurately. So I read City of Glass, which is one of my favorites of the Mortal Instruments, and I loved it. And I loved Max so much, and it still hurts, and I appreciate Claire's writing in another way now rereading them, and I see tidbits that definitely indicate the other series, even TDA, The Dark Artifices. So it's truly amazing to read them again, and it's a totally new experience reading them again. I didn't think it would be that much of a difference rereading them, but it truly is, and I just really loved it, and of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And next up I read a book for my Swedish class, which is why it has all the post-it notes, because I'm supposed to write an analysis on gender about it, but it's Terasaka by Emily Sola? I have no idea. It's a classic, and it's basically about a woman, and she's married to a man that she's not really in love with. She thinks he's annoying, and she's grown up with him, so it's almost like she regards him more as a annoying brother, or as it is the case, cousin. And then she meets a new man, and they fall in love, and they decide to, I don't think it's a spoiler, my teacher literally said it to me, but they decide to get rid of what's keeping them from loving each other and being together, but it ends up not going the way they want to, and it's just a lot of anxiety and dread. Emily Sola definitely liked to portray people in huge distress. And it's probably one of the most realistic classics that I read, even if the actual things that happen aren't realistic. Their emotions are super realistic. They have fights, they are angry with each other, they use different coping mechanisms to try to cope with their situation. So I really liked those aspects. However, it was boring. Sola is pretty repetitive, and the plot is just, I didn't believe it for a second, to be honest. That is some major imagination on Sola's part. But I did like the aspects of the coping mechanism and that they had emotions for once. So yeah, it was an okay-ish read. A bit surprising read of a classic. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Up next, I definitely read one of my favorite books this year, which is so exciting. I read Words on Bathroom Walls by Julia Walton, and this book was so great. I of course gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's about a boy named Adam, and he has schizophrenia, and he's actually on a medical trial, so the chapters start with how his dosage has changed because he's trying a new medication to see if it works better with his hallucinations. He has both visual and auditory hallucinations, so that's really great. I love seeing that he has both, because usually you only get to see one, and usually, at least when it comes to media, it's the visual ones, and if they are auditory, it's always kill that person, like in horror movies and stuff, which is not true, at least not in most cases. So I truly love that aspect, and it's basically about Adam, and about Adam meeting this girl, and her name is Maya, and she's Filipina or Filipino, I'm not sure how you say. She comes from the Philippines, at least her parents does, and she takes a lot of responsibility for her younger brothers and for her family, and she is not, I'm not sure if she's poor, but she's not as rich as the other kids at this Catholic school. So there's a lot of different religions, not a lot of different religions, but you get to see religion, how it plays a part, or doesn't, because Adam doesn't really believe in it, and neither does Maya, but it's still an aspect to the book. It is an aspect that she is Filipina. It's an aspect that Adam has schizophrenia, and I just really loved it. Adam has names for most of his hallucinations, at least those that appear often, and I loved getting to, not really getting to know the hallucinations, but kind of getting to know Adam, seeing how things work for Adam, and I just loved some of the parts of the book so much. There's such great scenes throughout it, like, it was great. I really loved it. And Adam is 16, if I didn't say that. But yeah, totally love it, and it deals with different family dynamics and family constellations. I gave it 5 stars. Up next, I have a Swedish book. It's Katarina Wenstam's Flickan och Skammen. So the author is Katarina Wenstam, and she's the one that wrote The Girl and the Blame, and this is called The Girl and the Shame. And it's kind of like a follow-up or sequel, but instead of like her previous book, it was about societies, at least Sweden's society, how they look at rape and how we blame the victim. This is how girls are being slut-shamed, and it talks about, like, we look back on history and see how and why and if the girl's sexuality have been looked upon throughout times, like when you had to cover yourself up in the Christian countries, how you were pure, and how you were sent to like nunneries to stay pure, how there's these, I don't remember the English name right now, but you know, there's like these belts that can keep you pure and to not have sex, and just how it's viewed and how it's still viewed today, and how people, even in Sweden, and sometimes there's Swedish people as well, as not only the so-called immigrants, because that's a usual misconception, but that there's doctors that make sure that girls are virgins, that there's virgin checkups, and that it's just a great, and that girls' sexuality are oppressed, and that you can be called a slut even if you have never had sex, because it's just like one of the words girls use against other girls to besmirk your reputation and to make you bad, basically. Like, yeah, it's a repertoire book about slut shaming, and it's super duper great. I loved it. If you're Swedish, I think you should read it. It had like some great lines, like damned if you do, damned if you don't, which basically means that if you don't have sex, then you're too good, and you think that you're too good, and you're like the biggest nerd and loser ever, and you don't, like, you're not worthy of a male partner, because it's very heteronormative, which slut shaming usually is. And then if you do have sex, and you have sex a lot, then you're a slut, basically, and you have no worth, and it's nothing special, and you're just there to please whoever, basically, which is not the case. It doesn't matter who you are, or how many partners you've had, or if you have sex or not. Like, it doesn't make you any more or any less of a slut, because nobody is a slut. And then it had boys will be boys and girls will be sluts, because whenever something happens, whenever two people have sex and it happen to be a boy and a girl, it's the girl that's a slut, and it's the boy that is a boy, or a king, or like an amazing guy that like sleeps with loads of people, because that's not weird. Like, a guy can have hundreds of partners, that's cool. But if a girl has 20 plus, she's the biggest slut ever, which sucks. But it made me reevaluate a lot of my own like opinions and like internalized stigma and like thoughts that I have about, well, sex and girl sexuality, and yeah, sluts, so to say. So I really loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it really made me reevaluate my standings and how I look at people, then especially girls. And lastly, I read Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, and this was such an amazing read. I read it in a day, which never happens, but it's written in prose like this, and it's just so great. It really, truly, it's kind of similar to The Hate You Give, because it feels like it represents a community that we usually never get to see, at least not if you're a part of it, because I'm not a part of it. I have never been to America, I'm not black, and I'm very privileged, and it just felt very raw, and it felt like he was talking from his heart, and he was talking for a lot of people that no longer have a voice to talk with, because it's about a boy and his brother has just been shot and he's going to follow the 3 rules, and they are to not cry, not to snitch, and to get revenge. So that is what he's going to attempt. And I just really loved it. It was such a unique way to like tell a story, and it just felt so very raw and honest. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So those were the 5 books that I read since last we spoke. Actually, 3 out of those were from my library at school. Actually, 3 of those were from my library in school, so I'm doing great on that at least. I hope that you have read amazing books this month or this past weeks. If you have, please let me know down below what you read. I would love to discuss with you. And just thank you so much for watching. Your support truly means the world to me, and I hope you have a great day / night / whatever part is for you. Bye!